I'm Dan.
I'm Dani.
This is Dan's on Fandoms. What is going on, folks?
Oh my gosh, coming in hot from the weekend.
New York Comic-Con, baby. Holy shit. So we've had an exciting several days.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild, pretty exciting, pretty freaking fun too.
We recently just got back from New York Comic-Con, which that was our first time going.
It sure was. It was our biggest convention, first time going to an actual big convention, and first time going multiple days.
What were your takeaways from New York Comic-Con?
It is jam-packed.
So many fucking people. I know some people maybe not into the fact that there's a ton of people there, and I mean there were a couple of moments where we were trying to see a certain booth or trying to just turn a corner.
They're just moving at one point.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there's a goddamn traffic jam and people are right on top of you. You're literally not moving. It's literally like being stuck in traffic in a car because there was that many people. But yeah, I expected that going into it. Even though there was a lot of people, there was a ton of great costumes and cosplay.
Oh my God. There was at one point, what was it? Well, Friday and Saturday, I think towards the end of the day, we just kind of hung out in that big open area, and it was just amazing to just stand there and just look at the costumes and the cosplay that people are doing. It boggles my mind how absolutely incredibly creative,
intricate,
and what people can make when they put their minds to it.
Yeah, and Saturday the costumes were probably more crazy than Friday, and even getting there on Friday for the first time, not knowing exactly what to expect, seeing some of those costumes and those cosplays, just thinking to myself, holy shit, this is nuts. And then on Saturday, experiencing some of the costumes that we saw and seeing people gathering and seeing people in these crazy, ridiculously awesome cosplays was so goddamn awesome.
So what were some of your favorite cosplays?
Hands down, not even a question, Pickle Rick.
I knew that one was coming.
Without question, Pickle Rick. And part of the reason why, so this person, I should say, made this Pickle Rick costume, aside from how awesome their costume looked, they were in character the entire time we were hanging out near him, just kind of scoping out the scene.
Pickle Rick is from the cartoon Rick and Morty and was in one episode, I think?
One ridiculous fucking episode.
Rick turned himself into a pickle.
Just because he wanted to.
And to get out of some family therapy.
Yes.
But that episode was so insane. But yeah, I mean, I pulled up, I showed a coworker this picture today, and I pulled up the picture online of what Pickle Rick looks like, and I was like, oh my God, that is literally exactly the bones and the fur was all in the same spot.
Oh my God, I love you. I'm Pickle Rick, come get some of this brine. It was great, and people were swarming him, man. And the entire time that we were just hanging out, scoping out the scene, people were swarming this person, asking them to take a photo with them, and they were all about it. They were so into it. So hands down, Pickle Rick was my favorite cosplay that we saw. What about you?
I don't know if it was one particular cosplay, but I really think that we saw a couple Mysterio from Spider-Man, which were so cool because
Very
they
impressive.
all had clouded headpieces that also had lights in them. The freaking multiple people with wings that would expand, so you'd have
Those
a
are
10
wild.
to 12 foot wingspan. People on stilts.
Yeah, that one demon guy.
Yeah, it was the demon furry monster. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's from. I don't know if it was from anything.
So just to give you guys an understanding of what was happening, Danielle and I, we were planning on leaving Saturday probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock. We're big Yankees fans, and the Yankees are in the playoffs, so we wanted to leave to be able to go watch a Yankees game. And so for the last 30 minutes to an hour or so, we were like, let's just go hang out, I guess in the mezzanine or wherever, the lobby, whatever the hell it would be called. So we were just hanging out, scoping out the scene, and we're looking at all these amazing cosplayers. We're seeing all these people, kind of just passing by, and then all of a sudden this gigantic fucking monster creature guy just walks past us, clearly someone on stilts, and their costume was absolutely incredible.
It was super cool. I think they had a light in their staff.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
is pretty sweet.
The one costume that I saw, not my favorite costume, but I just thought it was really, really cool. Someone did Ghost Rider, and their skull, they had smoke coming out of their skull, which I thought was really fucking cool.
Yeah, because I was like, somebody vaping in here? And it was like somebody walking by that had
Ghost Rider, baby.
Smoking skull. Yeah, oh my God, there were a couple of different Daenerys Targaryens. Oh my God.
Those were great. I'm a sucker for Star Wars, so of course,
obviously.
Seeing several of the Dark Ray costumes was really cool. Someone cosplaying as Commander Cody, and it was
cool.
It was like spot on. They looked like Commander Cody. It was fantastic.
Ahsoka the White.
Yeah, that was really cool to see Ahsoka the White. So that was when we were waiting in line for which panel?
The second literary panel
with Ashley Eckstein.
It was the one with Ashley Eckstein. Oh my God, I was so excited.
And that was great because at the beginning of that panel, Mark Thompson asked all the people that were dressed as Ahsoka to stand up. And of course, everyone started cheering and everyone got into it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ashley Eckstein is so cute.
She's great. She's so awesome.
She's like a ball of energy. She's like 5 feet tall and she's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I just love everything Star Wars.
Any other costumes that you were really into or that you saw that you really liked?
Oh, we saw that Batgirl. Or Batwoman.
Yes, that
was
one was
actually really good.
good.
I don't remember her name offhand, but it was the like black latex with red. And I found her Instagram, and she basically shows people like how to build their own stuff, like how to build a bodysuit.
Which is so wild. Like, how do you figure that out? How do you?
I don't know. She like wrapped herself in plastic wrap and then duct tape, and she sews it. It was just
wild.
Yeah. Lots of foam stuff is really cool. How about you?
The other one, too, that I really, really enjoyed, someone cosplayed as Obi-Wan living in the desert for decades just watching Luke. And I thought that they did a fantastic job. I wound up taking a photo with them, got to ask them a couple questions about their costume, and mentioning that he and his wife basically made everything from scratch, and it was such a great costume.
Oh yeah, the robes, the pack.
Yeah, the pack was great.
Oh yeah, we also saw Thrawn.
Oh yeah, that's right. We saw Thrawn, which was great. Yeah, and then seeing some of the Star Wars photos after the fact of the people cosplaying as Star Wars characters, like. Where the fuck was that invitation? I want to get in on those meetups, man.
I have one more. Well, technically two more because we saw them twice, and I was a huge Power Rangers fan when I was younger. God. There was a woman who was dressed up as Rita and then Zed, and they were insane.
Their costume was incredible.
Lights. I don't know what it was made out of. It was so spot on.
Oh, one last costume that I thought was fantastic. So I mentioned this in the first episode. I play Star Wars The Old Republic. Prior to playing that, I also played WoW, and my good buddy at work is big into WoW, so I talk to him about it all the time. And so, of course, I was looking out for WoW cosplayers, and I saw someone dressed up as Sylvanas, and her costume was fucking awesome.
That's lost on me. I'm sorry, but that's really awesome.
Yeah, her costume was great. All right, so let's transition here, right? So we got to see a lot of really cool cosplay outfits, really cool cosplayers, but one of my favorite aspects of the event was the fact that we got to go to several really amazing panels.
Oh, they were all awesome. Like we went to 3, and all 3 of them were totally worth our time. So the first panel that we went to was Lucasfilm Publishing, Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. It was pretty awesome.
So that was great because they were basically giving an insight into a lot of the projects that are going to be coming out in the next year or so, year plus maybe.
I think it was year plus. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. Honestly, we ended up going to 2 literary Star Wars panels, which they did cover some of the same stuff.
But yeah, I was fine with that.
Yeah, no, there was actually, there was some new stuff at each of them as well.
So before we go any further, let me preface this by saying I love the Star Wars novels. I never read any of the expanded universe stuff. I only got into the novels probably like 2 years ago or so. And my entry into Star Wars novels was through audiobooks. Never listened to audiobooks before. I always thought that audiobooks were cheating until I listened to a Star Wars audiobook that was narrated by Mark Thompson. And holy shit, he is so great. And he was at both of the panels we went to. The first panel, he was brought up at the end.
Right. He was kind of like a add-on little guest.
And what was great was he announced that they're doing another Thrawn trilogy. Aside from that, what made me so goddamn happy was the fact that he did several of his characters' voices right on the spot. So he did Yoda, Chewbacca, he did Han, and then he did Thrawn. So he read an excerpt from the new Thrawn book that's coming out, I believe, next summer.
That sounds about right. We didn't take notes. We probably should start doing something like that, but
I literally felt like a goddamn kid in a candy store, like smiles ear to ear. Like I was just so goddamn happy.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And I don't listen to the audiobooks as much as you do. I usually just read the book. So honestly, I can just read them a little bit faster than I can listen to them. But it was really cool to be able to hear some cool information from these people who have amazing imaginations and can make these stories that we've grown up to love and put them to the page.
So who were the panelists for that panel?
So there was the creative director of Lucas Publishing, who was like the moderator. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I'm totally drawing a blank on his name right now.
Cavan Scott, George Mann, Justina Ireland, Katie Cook, Zoraida Cordova.
I was pumped about Cavan Scott because I just finished the Jedi Lost audiobook, and that was
Dooku.
So good. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I heard clips of that, and that one was very entertaining. I would like to read it.
Oh, so good.
I listen to it.
I'm such an Asajj Ventress fan, and I feel like Cavan Scott did such a great job with her character in that story. So yeah, it was really cool to listen to Lucasfilm Publishing talking about some of these projects that we've enjoyed, and then hearing about what's coming. They kind of briefly touched on Project Luminous, but they would not give us any insight into what exactly that is.
Just that there's a ton of people working on it, and it's still super top secret. We're basically threatening the panelists. They're like, you can't say anything.
Yeah. And I mean, they also talked about some just additional comics and other stories that are coming out. So the Lucasfilm Publishing is just going to be pushing a ton of stuff in the next year plus, which is so exciting. So let's get on to our second panel of Friday, which, holy fucking shit, we lucked out. We got the lottery for the Watchmen panel.
Which, when we got there about 10 after 10. So the doors open at 10 o'clock on Friday. We got there about 10 after 10, and we went downstairs to the queue hall to just see, because this is our first one. We weren't really sure what we needed to do. And the Watchmen panel was already full. All the seats were already taken by the time we got there 10 minutes after the doors opened.
And how many people fit in that main stage? It was like 2,000 or 3,000 people. We'll call it 2,500 people fit in that.
Split the difference.
Yeah. And so it was packed, and it was crazy. And I love that we go into the main stage area, we grab a seat, and HBO, New York Comic Con, had like a hype man and a DJ.
Oh yeah, that was so cool. They were trying to get the crowd so pumped. They were like giving out prizes and like trivia stuff. Oh, they did the karaoke
impromptu karaoke, which they were singing Fresh Prince.
Oh yeah.
Now this is a story all about how. It was awesome.
It was really good.
I love too that he cracked a joke at someone who was dressed as Fat Thor, because there was a billion people dressed as Fat Thor,
including Mark Thompson, apparently.
Yes. So the panel hasn't even started yet, and we have this hype man hyping up the crowd, and we're enjoying our time, and then we get into it, and literally they showed us the pilot episode for the upcoming Watchmen show that's going to be airing on HBO. I think, is it October 20th?
Yep. Which was amazing, because in the panel they don't actually say that they're going to be giving you the whole pilot. They're just like, oh, you'll be seeing clips, or you'll be seeing... So nobody really had any idea.
Yeah. We kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, are they going to be showing us the pilot? And you had mentioned, I don't think so. Like, why would they show us the entire pilot? But they showed us the entire pilot. And holy crap, man, it was seriously fucking awesome.
I know, and I feel bad because they were like, don't say anything, at least not till it gets closer. But guys,
no spoilers here, but yeah, it was fantastic.
You should definitely watch it.
Yeah.
It was super fun. Couple of throwbacks, even though, yes, I still have not finished the Watchmen novel, but I did just order it so I can finish it, even though I know it's going to happen. kind of. But yeah, there's definitely lots of tiebacks and throw-ins and stuff like that.
One of the things that I appreciated about the show is the fact that I've read the comic. I read it a long time ago, but you do not have to have read the comic to necessarily know what's going on.
Absolutely not.
The story takes place 30 years from when the graphic novel ends, and you're thrusted into this world, and you really don't need to know what happened in that graphic novel when it came out. And that's one of the things I like about it, is it hits the ground running, and you don't necessarily need to have that frame of reference from the graphic novel.
Because it's set in present day. Because I think they even said it's set in 2019. So it's just our world kind of spun to what happened in that novel, which was pretty sweet, very entertaining. So that was almost an hour.
So yeah, I like that the show just kind of picks up and goes from there. You don't necessarily need to have a frame of reference, but I love that after we watched the pilot, during the panel discussion, the executive producer of the show, Damon Lindelof, had mentioned that they definitely worked on dropping these little hints and clues and images that you might recognize if you had read the graphic novel ahead of time.
Lots of Easter eggs.
But yeah, the pilot, holy shit, it literally hits the ground running, and at the end of the episode, you're just like, holy fuck, what the hell did I just watch? But in a good way.
Yeah, Regina King is a queen. She is so good. She's amazing in this pilot.
Yeah, Regina King is great. Tim Blake Nelson, who is another fantastic actor, he plays the Looking Glass. So Regina King plays Sister Night. Tim Blake Nelson plays the Looking Glass. And then we have Jeremy Irons, who I'm not going to say who it is just in case if you haven't read the comic and you're not entirely sure, but it's pretty heavily implied who his character is. They don't mention it exactly in the first episode who Jeremy Irons plays, but if you've read the comic before, you will very easily know who he's supposed to be, which kind of crazy that they have Jeremy Irons playing in a show that is based off of a graphic novel.
When the panel did start, Jeremy Irons kind of talked about how Damon brought him out to lunch and basically like explained the whole series, and Jeremy Irons just got a free lunch out of it and was like, yeah, this guy's a wacko. Like, he's so just super into his graphic novels.
He joked that he ate well that day, but then it was funny because it kept coming up throughout the panel that apparently Jeremy Irons was the only person that he took out to lunch.
Right.
And so the other actors on the panel kept throwing little barbs at Damon Lindelof, mentioning that he didn't take them out to lunch.
One of the things that I thought was cool, and I want to quickly list who else was on the panel. Regina King was talking about how Damon sent her a drawing or a rendition of her as Night Sister, which is...
That's right.
Because he was like, you are the only person that I want to play Sister Night. So he got a drawing commissioned and made sure that she saw it. Oh my God, so badass.
And Sister Night looks so fucking cool. Could you imagine opening up this script that is super cool, and then on the inside, so the script that Regina King received, in the script was an envelope, and it said, do not open the envelope until the end. Don't cheat. And so she didn't. According to her, she read the script, and at the end she opened up this envelope, and there is an image of herself as Sister Night. That's got to be so awesome.
Yeah, she was like, that's what sold me. She's like, I'm done. You got me. But so the other folks that were on that panel, so we already talked obviously about Regina King, Jeremy Irons, Damon Lindelof, who was the creator of Lost. And then you have Gene Smart, Louis Gossett Jr., Hong Chow, Nicole Castle, who directed the first episode and I think 2 other episodes in the season, Tim Blake Nelson, and then Yahya Abdul Mateen II. And then about 40 minutes into the panel, they brought a special guest who was Dave Gibbons, who was the illustrator.
I love how Alan Moore is basically like the Voldemort.
He's like, I want nothing to do with it.
He who must not be named.
Yeah, but it was kind of cool to hear from Dave and have him be brought out. People seem super excited about that.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure, because Alan Moore also did V for Vendetta, which I love that fucking graphic novel. And I actually think the movie's pretty good. I'm pretty sure when the movie came out, he was not on board with it. But anyway, yeah, the panel was fucking sick. The pilot was so goddamn awesome. We essentially ended Friday with that goddamn pilot and panel. It was such a great way to end Friday. we left Friday just kind of like on cloud nine, like, holy shit, we get to do this all again tomorrow. We went and hung out at a bar with a bunch of local drunkies and watched the Yankees game, which was a ton of fun. And then we got to wake up on Saturday and do it all again.
Yeah, that was super exciting. And I know it like we are definitely not the folks who like to get up early. We will definitely have people who will attest to that, but I was all ready to go. Like super psyched. Getting up for Comic-Con is always a good reason to get up early.
So on Saturday, we got to wake up and do it all again. But for Saturday, we were going to be going to one panel. What was the panel?
Join the Resistance.
Explain what that panel was about.
The panel name was Join the Resistance. That one was another Lucas Publishing panel that we went to. It was moderated by Ashley Eckstein, who is the voice of Ahsoka. Who else was on that one? Mark Thompson was there.
Delilah Dawson.
Yes.
Justina Ireland.
Yes. Ethan Sack was another one, and then Kevin Shinnick. I'm so sorry.
And that panel was really cool because basically the panel was all about the publications, comics, stories, books that are coming out that are leading up to The Rise of Skywalker.
Right, and somebody else who wasn't listed was Rebecca Roanhouse. I don't remember if that's exactly what her last name is, but she wrote one of the newer books that's coming out right before Rise of Skywalker.
Resistance Reborn, which Mark Thompson read an excerpt from that book as well.
Correct.
And it was fucking great. I literally cannot stress to you guys how great the audiobooks are. I do not like audiobooks other than Star Wars audiobooks. Mark Thompson is so goddamn awesome, and hearing him recite these excerpts from the books was so awesome.
I mean, he does different voices for every single character.
Yeah.
He's wild. He's so good at what he does.
And I'm pretty sure what he was reading for us was done in Poe's voice, Leia's voice, and then some other kind of Resistance person, which I don't know if they were an alien or not.
Oh yeah, that was really fun though. Like just being able to hear him and kind of watch him perform and work his magic.
And it was just so interesting hearing these writers talk about them writing these stories, getting the freedom from Lucasfilm Publishing to do what they wanted. And that one author talking about how for The Force Collector wrote part of The Rise of Skywalker without knowing, completely accidentally wrote a part of what is going to be in The Rise of Skywalker, submitted it to Lucasfilm Publishing, and they came back to him and said, bro, you just wrote a part of The Rise of Skywalker. You need to redo this. Which
I can't imagine like the shock that you would be feeling for be like, what did I just do? Like how did this happen?
It's almost got to be like a gratifying feeling. Like I know the story enough that I'm accurately guessing part of The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, he was making jokes about like, oh, I need to get that TV movie money now.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool to hear that.
That's
gotta
hilarious.
Be so awesome. Yeah, and I really want to. I was gonna say read, but I'll wind up listening to.
I'll read it.
The Force Collector, because it sounds cool. Because basically, so the story's about this person who they're Force sensitive, and so when they touch objects, they can see the past from that object. It's one of the Force abilities that Quinlan Voss has, where they touch the object and then they can see the past from that object. So this character in the story, they have that ability, and there's no more Jedi, so they can't learn about the Force. So they wind up traveling the galaxy, finding these different objects and learning about the Force through objects, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that book. I also was super excited to listen to Delilah Dawson because she did write Phasma, which is one of my favorite ones. And you meet Vi Marati in that book. And she kind of talked about how she went to Batuu, both in California and in Florida recently. And she's a Batuu historian, according to the folks who live/work there, because she basically created these characters and really like helped bring this world that they created to life by writing about them in the books.
That has to be so unreal. She had mentioned that there was drawings that were given to her to help her in writing the stories, but now this place that you have written about has been brought to life.
Or even the character, because it sounds like she was the one who created Vi, and then they kind of took Vi and made her as a character that is in these lands, and you can actually go and talk to Vi and see how she, I don't know, is a nice little spy for the Resistance.
Yeah,
and see her work.
Has to be so goddamn cool. So yeah, that panel wound up being freaking so awesome, and it was really cool seeing all the Star Wars cosplayers hanging out in the crowd for that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then after that, we basically hung out outside and scoped out all the cosplayers again. And it was even wilder Saturday night with the cosplays. And then we took the goddamn bus to New Jersey, and that was the end of New York Comic-Con.
I know, it's so sad. I was just thinking about the creepy man who like flopped down next to me
that
when we were on
weirdo.
the bus.
But yeah, post-con depression is a thing, guys. I'm already ready for New York Comic-Con 2020. I probably want to go more than 2 days next year. I have already been thinking about a new costume for next year.
Well, yeah, we get that legacy next year.
Yeah.
Woo.
Hopefully we can get into the cosplay contest.
That would be super awesome because the winners, because I think I saw a picture of first through third and they look
So
insane.
Cool. Yeah.
They also have the whole thing on YouTube, so I
Oh,
might
that's cool. I
scope
didn't
that
know
out
that.
soon. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So let's transition here. So
I'm ready.
New York Comic Con, super fucking awesome, so successful. If you have not gone, get on that. You will not be disappointed. Star Wars Resistance
All right.
is back.
Season 2 premiered on Sunday night.
I definitely want to do a little bit of a deeper dive for the episode, but before we do that, overall, how did you feel about the episode?
Thought it was pretty good. We've talked about this, not on our podcast, but Resistance kind of falls into a little bit more like for kids. I definitely enjoyed Clone Wars and Rebels more, but I think it's still an entertaining kid show.
I agree completely. To me, this episode is like a microcosm of what Resistance is. A lot of goofiness,
Yes.
some kitschiness, definitely aimed at kids. But then there's also a decent story that is happening within this episode.
Absolutely.
So the episode opens on Castellan, which, just a quick recap of season 1, right? The First Order basically took over the Colossus, and at the end of the episode, Kaz and the gang are basically fighting the First Order. The Colossus winds up being able to jump into hyperspace and get the hell away from the First Order. So Season 2, Episode 1 opens, and now we're seeing the wreckage of that finale. And then you go right up into a First Order Star Destroyer, and there's Pyre talking to Captain Phasma. And I love how fucking ruthless Captain Phasma is. If you don't get shit done, I will straight up fucking execute your ass.
Personally. Even the throwing in the personally, like, I will execute you personally. It's like, oh shit. She is not here to mess around.
One of the failures of the movies. Now, I am a big fan of the sequel movies. I will admit that. But one of the failures of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi is that they do not do Phasma justice whatsoever.
Absolutely not.
Outside of the movies, Captain Phasma is a total fucking badass, and I think that's one of the things in Star Wars Resistance that they've done really well.
Right. Because you honestly, like, you would never have any idea by just watching the movies how ruthless and strong she absolutely is. Like, you really have to get that from the book, and I like how Resistance is definitely kind of showing you a little bit more of that as well.
I completely agree, man. And I wish that was something that we would have gotten a little bit more in the movies. I don't think that she is alive still, but whatever. At least we get this version of Captain Phasma in Resistance and in the novels and some of the comics. For me, I feel like Star Wars Resistance is at its best when you're seeing the First Order having a big presence within the episode and really being the antagonist of the episode. So it was announced that season 2 was going to be the final season of Star Wars Resistance, which to me, I think is almost a negative against the show, because in the early episodes of the show, I felt like they really dragged their feet in getting the story started.
They definitely did. They did a lot of really slapstick comedy stuff that just really didn't seem to go anywhere.
Yeah. At least with this season, we're jumping right back in. When I initially watched the episode, I was kind of like, I was a little bummed about it, because I felt like this really feels like it's more of the same old kitschiness, goofiness that we come to expect with Star Wars Resistance. We watched it earlier today before recording this episode, and I don't know if it was the booze because I drank a little bit, but I enjoyed the episode a little bit more, just because the episode starts with, now we're on Castellan, we're seeing the First Order. They want to find the Colossus and the Resistance. And then we see that the Resistance is 3 parsecs away from Dakar, which is where the Resistance has a hidden base. Now the Colossus is trying to get to Dakar, but the Colossus is all banged up.
Systems are down. Nothing's working.
Yeah, and they've got to make shit happen. And when I watched it for the first time, I was like, oh, this is kind of dumb. Can't we have more of a threat than just this? But in watching it the second time, I actually think it kind of works, right? You know, they escape the First Order. What other threat would there be?
Right. They have to regroup a little bit first.
Yeah, so there's got to be some regrouping. So upon first watch, I was like, I don't know if I like this. Watching it for the second time, I felt like, okay, this makes sense. And so we're seeing that the Colossus has systems that are failing. So now Kaz, Niku, Tora, they're working on getting these systems up and running so that hopefully the Colossus can make its way to Dakar.
And they definitely did. They added some of their classic little slapstick comedy. The anti-gravity is not working on the Colossus, so they're floating through, and you have Kaz like falling down the stairs. He hits his head. He hits that poor little custodian guy.
Peep-It. That's one of the things, as corny and goofy as it is, I love that that's been like a running joke throughout the show, is Peep-It, who is the janitor on the Colossus and is always trying to keep things nice and clean, but goddamn Kazuda and his crew are always messing things up.
Aw, he's so cute.
As you were mentioning, right? Kaz, Niku, Tor, they're going to try to fix some of these failing systems, and they go down to like the lower levels of the Colossus, and we get to see those turtle people, the Chilidae. The Chilidae, who I love those. I love that species.
The shell people.
The goddamn shell turtle people.
Who retreat in their shells whenever they're nervous or scared, just like the real thing.
Oh, so one of the Chilidae says to Niku, which this is totally foreshadowing, that they shouldn't be in the lower levels trying to fix. It's the anti-gravity system they're trying to fix and the integrated transmitter relays. And so one of the Chilidae says that they shouldn't be in the lower levels because it's too dangerous.
Right. It's still dangerous. And that kind of starts the... I feel like it was almost a little bit of a horror story touch.
Yes, you had mentioned this when we were watching it the first time, which after you said that, I was like, oh my God, you're totally correct.
So there's a first order droid that is hiding.
Stowaway.
Yes, that's stowed away. They thought they destroyed it. It's back with a vengeance. Has this broken little eye screen or whatever you would want to call it. And he's kind of waiting in the shadows.
Kind of like Alien. Kind of reminded me of Ridley Scott's Alien.
Well, first there was CB-23 who went on first.
Oh, and I love that they refer to CB-23 as a her. I appreciate that.
She's adorable.
Yeah, she's great. CB-23 is great. But yeah, CB-23 goes down. Next thing you know, she's out of commission. So Niku goes and checks it out. And then, oh shit, Niku gets his shit fucked up from this first order droid.
I also loved how they tied Niku up and they had like one lone rope like across his face. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but it was just like... They just wrapped him up and he had just a couple little strings.
And see, I love Niku's character. I think Niku is so great, and I wish they would pump the brakes a little bit on Kaz and just leave the comedy to Niku, because Niku is great. His character is awesome.
He's just so totally clueless and dry and just...
Yeah, he's great.
He's cute.
After you mentioned that, I totally got this vibe of Ridley Scott's Alien, because... Niku is all tied up against the wall. Mm-hmm. Then they're fighting this droid in the shadows. Next thing you know, they're in the landing bay of the Colossus, and now they're trying to get rid of the goddamn droid by launching him out of the airlock.
Right. The first order droid starts trying to send a message. He plugged into the port and he was trying to send a message to the first order to let them know where the Colossus is. So Kaz kind of starts to try to distract him, and then Tora starts to stop the message from being sent out.
Yeah. One of the things I want to go back quickly, one of the things that I loved about the earlier part of the episode is we're seeing the wreckage of what happened on Castellan, and then the TIE fighter flies up into space, and now we see a first order Star Destroyer, and in the bridge of this Star Destroyer is Commander Pyre and Agent Tierney and Tam. And I love that Agent Tierney is questioning Tam about her relationship with the crew of the Colossus. And to me, Tam is kind of like the mouthpiece of, to some degree, the greater galaxy, right? No one necessarily knows who the First Order really is. No one really knows what the Resistance is about. Are they criminals? They're a bunch of pirates. No one knows.
Really bad guys?
Yeah.
Is the First Order? Are they just trying to keep everybody safe?
I appreciate that you're seeing, this is how someone could get wrapped up in this and not necessarily be a bad person, because Tam is definitely not supposed to be viewed in a bad light.
Right. I did really like the scene towards the end where you see her in her flight suit and she puts on her helmet. Thought it was a really cool shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that scene is supposed to show, again, at this point, she doesn't think the First Order is a bad entity, right? She just thinks that they're trying to do good. They're giving her purpose. She didn't really necessarily feel like she was doing great things on the Colossus, right? And now the First Order comes. They're, in her eyes, trying to keep peace and trying to spread peace across the galaxy. And now they're giving her this opportunity to be a pilot.
I was going to say, it wasn't even just her purpose. It's her dream. That's what she's always wanted, is to be this pilot, but she had the fireball. She didn't have anything that she was able to really fly well. So now she has all this equipment and things and support that she can now follow her dream. Who doesn't want to follow their dream? Yeah.
And again, this kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier. The show is at its best when the First Order has a really good presence in the show. And I think, to me, these scenes with Tam, with the First Order, is really what made the episode feel like it had a little bit of oomph.
Conflict.
So I'm assuming next week, right, they mentioned that they're going to be looking for fuel, because they mentioned coaxium fuel for the first time outside of Han Solo. Or Solo, I should say.
Yes, that was so exciting. They have no coaxium fuel left. Got to get to Dakar.
I had read that potentially maybe what we're going to see in the next episode is the crew of the Colossus is going to make its way to Dakar. And then we know at this point, right, that the show has caught up to the beginning of The Last Jedi, roughly. So that dreadnought that Poe and the Resistance destroyed, maybe that is still there, or remnants of it still there. And maybe they're going to take fuel from that dreadnought.
That would be pretty exciting.
That would be fucking awesome. Yeah, I would be all about that.
Lots of conflict in that one.
Yeah, because I believe, if I remember correctly, the description of the next episode is that they're going to be looking for fuel, and at some point the First Order is going to show up. So that makes sense. The First Order is going to find them sooner than later.
Right. I mean, they have so much more power and so many more people.
Yeah. I think all in all, I would say the episode is a decent episode. There are moments of it, like a lot of the series, that are just a little kitschy, a little corny, but I do think that there are excellent moments. And I think that's one of the things with even Rebels at times. They are catering to a younger audience. Clone Wars didn't really do that as much, maybe more of a younger adult teen type of a show, whereas Rebels and Resistance are definitely geared more towards a younger audience.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still entertaining.
Yeah. Which, God, makes me so excited for The Mandalorian. I have to imagine The Mandalorian is going to be geared more towards an older crowd.
Oh, God, I hope so. Because, I mean, watching that trailer, it definitely looks like it. Also, you can't cast somebody as handsome as Pedro Pascal if you don't want older crowd to watch it.
He's a good looking dude.
You know, I like my Red Viper.
So shit, on that note... New York Comic-Con, Star Wars. We've had such a fantastic several days. At work today, someone asked me how our weekend was, and I was just like, man, I'm flying high right now the last couple of days. Comic-Con, Star Wars Resistance, the Yankees just swept the goddamn Twins.
Yeah.
Awesome several days.
It's been super fun.
So on that note, any last words?
Stay nerdy.